going on, guys? I'm Pete and welcome to Retro Game Attic. So today I want to show you guys a player's guide that I've actually had since I was a little kid. It's Winning Game Tips for Sonic the Hedgehog, an unauthorized player's guide. Now I got this book, I'm going to say, when it was new, which is in 1994. I think it was at a Scholastic book event at my school. And I mean, I read this thing like ad nauseum. I wanted to know everything about all the Sonic games in it, even some that I didn't have. So we'll open the front cover here, and as you can see, there's an introduction, Sonic the Hedgehog CD, Spinball, Chaos, Robotnik's Bean Machine, and Sonic 1 and 2 on Genesis, and Sonic 1 and 2 on Game Gear. And this is by Publications International Limited. So first up, they give you the story of Sonic. I mean, there's some pretty good lore here, but it goes through the games, and I mean, it seems like they're taking stuff from instruction manuals and other magazines and stuff like that. There's a pretty cool screenshot of Sonic from Sonic Chaos right in the right hand side, and you can see the pages of this are pretty jacked up. Like I said, I mean, I really went nuts with this thing when I was a kid. I literally read it like every day. So we'll flip on to the next page. And first up is Sonic the Hedgehog CD. They'll give you a little bit of backstory, as you know, it was released in Christmas of '93, and they give you screenshots, and for the most part, they look pretty good given the time. I don't think capture cards were pretty readily available, and I guess this were probably taken with decent digital cameras or whatnot. Regardless, they look pretty good. I also thought this was cool. I didn't know this until today, that you can actually use the backup RAM cart with Sonic CD, so that's pretty cool because I actually have one, and I'm going to try that out at some point. So we'll flip on to the next page. Again, it's more stuff from Sonic CD, good screenshots there. They'll go through the future and the past mechanics and things like that, but yeah, there's all good information. They tell you how to beat Robotnik and how to make a good future, so you get the good ending at the end of the game, which is cool. So yeah, more screenshots. I think those flames are a little weird. It's just random stock images of flames, but I guess they had to make do. It progresses through the whole game and gives you basically all the information you need as it's supposed to. I thought this was pretty cool. It gives you the bonus points awarded if you complete an act. So next up we have Sonic Spinball on the Genesis. Again, it gives you a little bit of backstory. The screenshots look pretty good. I mean, it's all representative. It's all stuff that's from the game, so that's a good step right there. I also like how they mention if you played Sonic 2, you might remember Casino Night Zone, which is somewhat similar to this new card. I mean, I guess I see the association there, so it's pretty cool. So we'll flip on to the next page. There's a good sized screenshot on the right side there, but this goes through the first level and how to avoid badniks and whatnot, how to drain the ooze to get the Chaos Emerald. So we'll flip on to the next page. More screenshots, more tips. I mean, the game's pretty self-explanatory, but it's pretty cool how they give you the game genie codes. And again, as always, they give you the tips at the end. So moving on, we're going on to Sonic Chaos on the Game Gear. Now the Game Gear screenshots, they're a little rough. I'll be honest with you guys, but they had to make do with what they had back then, and you know, given the limitations, they look decent. You can actually make out what's there. I mean, the Game Gear has that like little tiny screen, and I'm sure these were taken with some like crappy 90s digital camera with like a 3.5 floppy storage. And again, more tips and tricks. Again, more screenshots. I was surprised they did the big ones. But yeah, it runs you through all the zones and just general tips and tricks. It kind of goes over. I mean, Sonic Chaos is notoriously easy, but it is a pretty entertaining game. So, I mean, there's not many tips on how to beat it, I would say, but it's a lot of good just ways to get more rings and whatnot, hidden power-ups. And then again, you get the game genie codes and then the tips at the end of the game. So next up, we have Dr. Robotnik's Bean Machine. Now, I didn't get this game until I was older. I was always kind of mystified by it, and then I did find out that it's actually just a reskin of Puyo Puyo, which is fine. I mean, that's cool. But I think it's interesting that this guide really doesn't have much to say about it. It's just one page. So there's not so much tips there. I mean, there's like a little bit of tips, but no backstory. So I wasn't sure. I'm not sure if they were like sleeping on it or what, or whoever wrote this really wasn't into it. Like, I don't know. But we'll move on to the next game. So the original Sonic the Hedgehog on Genesis, which needs no introduction. It goes through the level code select at the beginning of the game, which I think I might have found out from this book. I'm not 100% sure because that was a while ago, but it's pretty cool that it was in there. Again, the screenshots look pretty good on the Genesis games. So yeah, your standard fare of tips and tricks. Goes through a little bit of the backstory. So we'll move on to the next page. It goes through the special stages, the loops and whatnot. Tells you the preferred routes, which are pretty cool. Like obviously you're going to want to go up to get the better stage progression and whatnot. Tells you how to beat Robotnik. And then it just goes through the rest of the zones here. Again, the screenshots look awesome. Pretty cool image of Robotnik right after you beat him. He's kind of just smoking and on fire right there. So yeah, more of the standard fare, but I mean, this is pretty extensive compared to some of the other games. Like, they're really getting into it, which is cool. There's a lot of good stuff here. Going on to Scrap Brain. And then finally, it goes on to the final boss. It gives you the Game Genie codes, and then, as always, a couple of little tips at the end. And there's that screenshot from the front cover of the good ending, which is awesome. It's kind of a bummer that they couldn't add any, like, art or, clip art from Sonic or Sega, but, given that this was an unlicensed publication, you just have to deal with the flame trails and just random flame clip art. So next up, we have Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on Genesis, and they're going to get into it here. They give you the level select code. Again, as always, the screenshots look sick. A little bit of backstory. It's more the same, but you get it at this point. So again, Robotnik at the end of the first stage goes to the chemical plant zone. More good tips and tricks. So here's Casino Night Zone, which is awesome, and Hilltop, which in my opinion is a sleeper one, and that song is awesome. It still hits hard today. Mystic Cave Zone, which is another banger. I guess most of the songs on Sonic 2 are awesome, but I really do like Mystic Cave Zone. There is that awesome Charles Hamilton song from, I'm gonna say, like 08 or 09. He's like a rapper that uses this, like samples it in the background of the beach. Is awesome. I think you guys should check it out if you can find it anywhere. So then you're getting towards the end of the game right here. You got Metropolis and Sky Chase, Wing Fortress, and then the final level against Metal Sonic, which is pretty tough. And again, it goes through the special stages, the two-player mode, the Game Genie codes, which are pretty extensive. I don't think I've ever actually tried them on Sonic 2, so that would be interesting to try. And then just general tips and whatnot. So we're getting towards the end of the line here. We just have the 2 Game Gear games left. So first up is the original Sonic the Hedgehog on Game Gear. Yeah, that one screenshot's pretty rough, like the green hill. I guess with my potato quality camera, you can't really tell, but in person, it's pretty bad. I mean, you can kind of see like the lines on there and everything, but given the limitation, like I've been saying, I mean, it's still pretty impressive. I mean, the Game Gear games aren't too complicated, but they give you some good pointers here. And then lastly, we have Sonic 2 on Game Gear, which I think I actually bought that one first, before the original Sonic the Hedgehog. And I always hated that stupid crab thing, that crab boss or whatever, where the ball bounces and everything. I always freaking hated that one. But yeah, the graphics are obviously upped for this one. It looks a little bit better. Still, a Sonic Game Gear game, so you kind of know what you're expecting here, but this one's awesome. Sky High Zone. Yeah, and that screenshot on the bottom right's pretty rough too. So obviously this one's a little bit longer than the original game, and yeah, they give you a lot more tips here and just a little bit of a walkthrough. And then that's it. The book just ends. I figure there might have been something at the end. I mean, maybe it ripped out throughout the years, but I don't think so. I think this is just how it abruptly ends. All in all, this thing's pretty cool. I'm not sure if Sega had like official walkthroughs or Sega Visions or anything like that had anything going on, but this is really all I had at the time, and it's pretty cool. It's a nice little time capsule to go back and look into. And yeah, I mean, these games are near and dear to me, especially Sonic CD. When I had this book, I actually didn't get Sonic CD until I was probably like in high school, so I was always mystified by it, and I would just read about the game all the time. I think if you guys can get your hands on it, I don't know if it's rare or expensive, probably not since it's unauthorized, but I would definitely check it out if you're a Sonic fan. That's about it, guys. I appreciate you all, I really do, and I've been posting more content to this channel, and it seems to be picking up a little bit, which is awesome. So yeah, please let me know if there's anything you want me to cover or talk about. I have a ton of stuff that I'm collecting and just doing random projects and whatnot, so I'd love to share it with you guys. And thank you all again. I seriously appreciate each and every one of you. Later, guys.